And when I got there, I was just thinking to myself, I don't even know how to get out of the pits. I was like, where's the clutch? And yeah, I mean, my family is just, we were just so inclined in motorsport. Like my dad, he was actually the reason why I got into it. He was also a karter. So basically, everything I learned from when I was a kid, it came from him. And I learned the passion. He introduced me to the sport. And I even remember when I was a year old, he would bring me to the racetrack and I would watch him race. And then one time he won and he brought me to the podium and was carrying me along with this trophy. So that's like the earliest memory of that I have in motorsport and in racing. And like I was just watching him race, and then one day when I was around 3 years old, I was like, I want to drive too. And that was the age that he got me my first ever baby cart. It was a 60cc motorized engine, and it was quite fast. And I got just so addicted to it, and I wanted to keep on going faster and faster the older I got. And by the time I was 6 years old, that's when I started competing all over the world. I started competing national, won a lot of awards, and international too. And my past 8 years in karting, I was just trying to hone my fundamentals and gain a lot of experience traveling, racing all over the world, competing with the best. Uh, it's definitely gonna be Nikki Lauda, yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, I'm a Ferrari fan and I love Nikki. I just crying, speechless, my mascara all over my face, just a mess. I was like, so I was selected for the Arizona shootout, and I went there and I was like, man, I'm just so unexperienced. I've literally got zero time in the car. I've never driven an F4 car by the time that I got there. I've never done a season in anything. The only thing I got was karting. So I had to learn how to shift, how to drive an aerodynamic car, and the downforce and everything. And when I got there, I was just thinking to myself, I don't even know how to get out of the pits. I was like, where's the clutch? And it's just funny because I never would have thought that I would get to this point in my career. And then I did the shootout. I drove, I progressed. I put in a lot of effort. We trained a lot for this. When I went to America sooner, around January 14th, just so that I could do a lot of testing and prepare. And then we got there, and then by the end of it, I ended up being the fastest driver during that shootout. And then later on, I was called in by the W Series Limited, the team, and then they told me that they're unofficially inviting me to the Barcelona preseason test. And I was like, I didn't know if it was gonna be a joke or if it was like like a prank or something, because it's an F3 card. Like
Yeah.
I it's like in my head, I'm like thinking, why would they put an unexperienced 17-year-old woman in an F3 car?
Yeah.
Like that was my first day in an F4 car, and then now you're telling me that I'm gonna drive an F3 car in like 2 weeks. so so yeah, and I guess that was like the first initial thought. It was like, how do I drive it? And then I called my dad. My manager was on call with me and my parents. They're saying that, yeah, they're inviting me over for the Barcelona tests. And then, a lot of preparation in between, like when I was traveling to Barcelona. And so I trained a lot. I was in Pit Fit in Indianapolis. I was working out every single day, made sure that I was, fit enough to drive the car. And during, like, did a lot of neurocognitive training, a lot of neck training, because the F3, it has a lot of downforce and a lot of G-force because it goes about 260 on a straight. So that was definitely a big step coming from karting. So yeah. Yeah, I mean, it definitely wasn't rainbows and butterflies. It wasn't like a fairy tale. I definitely went through a lot of downside of motorsport. Like I got the opportunity to train in the women in the Ferrari Driver Academy. I went there in the women in motorsport. I was a rising star, but I I honestly disappointed myself because I knew that I could have done so much more, but just because of the lack of experience in driving, the pandemic, it really hampered my progress in motorsport. I wasn't able to drive for the longest time. So when I got there, I wasn't fit enough, and yeah, I wasn't able to make to the next round. I got eliminated, and that was really a big downs. Like, I was just definitely very sad that that happened. I wanted to do a lot. I wanted to be in the Ferrari Driver Academy. That was one of my biggest goals as well, being a Ferrari fan. But I know I got to live it and I learned from it. So that's the good thing. You're never rejected, only redirected. Maybe this was my purpose. It was my path, was to race in W Series. And yeah, that girls on track rising star shootout definitely taught me a lot. And because of that, I was able to sort of break this mental barrier in my head that even though I was at my lowest, I was able to stand up and come back stronger and fight again. Yeah, I mean, racing is definitely such a mental game. It can get really frustrating. There's a lot of frustrating moments in motorsport that it drains you a lot mentally, especially when I was traveling alone in America, racing, like driving a lot, training. I was just by myself and I was just a bit drained because I had to exert so much physical energy, and then mentally too, I was dealing with a lot of pressure, and pressure from family, from the team, pressure that I give on myself because I want to perform really good. And whenever I don't perform well as I wanted to, I would usually beat myself up and get really frustrated. So I always just, sometimes when it gets really tough and there's sort of like this mental block that happens with me, and I think it happens with any athlete. It's just like sort of a moment where you just feel like you plateaued and you're not improving, you're not progressing. One of the main things that helped me get out of it, or push past it, was having a good sort of emotional support from my team, which was, I had my coach with me during the times that I drove Richard Lyons, and he really pushed me a lot. He's a very strict coach. At times he would really, he would really he would really get mad at me whenever I wasn't giving it my best, and I'm really thankful for him for that. He pushes me way beyond my limit, and because of that, I'm able to grow and shine the way that I'm supposed to. He's always told me that if you think you're going good, it can always be better. It is, and I'm thankful that I had that sort of support, that I was, even though I was traveling alone, because I always draw so much energy and motivation from him. And I also had my CBR media, helping me in a lot of traveling. And whenever I was feeling down, I would always just call them up, or I had my family. The and honestly, the idea of coming home to my family saying that I got the seat was the main thing that pushed me forward and got me through all of it. uh Definitely, it's like the racetrack I'm looking forward to the most is Miami, just because it sort of puts us in an equal playing field. Like the other drivers that have done a season in F3 or in W Series, that puts them in a lot of advantage because they've driven in the tracks. Unlike me, I've never driven in any of them. So, and Miami is a new track for everyone, which makes it really, it gives me a lot of advantage because then everyone's just equal. Yeah. And I'm also looking forward to meeting the F1 drivers. that's honestly one of the one of the things that I look forward to, because 3 months back I was like just a dreamer. I was just dreaming of this, looking up to the F1 drivers. I was like, I wish I can race the same time as them or alongside them one day. and then things magically happen and miracles, appear. And now I'm on my way to having a full season that I'll be driving, the same time as them. So that definitely will give me a lot of inspiration. Yeah, I mean, Charles, they're having an amazing season. I'm like,
Yeah.
I remember watching the race while I was traveling, and I did have an F1 TV with me, so I would call my manager, and he would record the race so that I could watch it. And yeah, he's giving a hell of a show. He's doing so well, and I learned so much. I learned so much from F1 drivers, or like really experienced drivers, because whenever I watch them, there's just always something that stands out. Whenever you watch a race, whoever stands out the most is eventually the one that wins, the one who's doing something different or with their strategies and everything. And when you would watch, Lewis like a year ago or a few years back, he would always be the most strategically planned driver. Like everything was just on point. And for us, we try to pick up those little things that contributes to a win. Like we don't even notice it until the commentators mention it, or after race there's sort of like a breakdown of how he won. And it's really true. When in racing, it's the little things that matters the most. That pit stop, like even just a lap of being late in the pit stop or being too early, it can cost you the whole race. F1 will forever be the goal for me. And even though like 3 months back, I've always been saying that F1, and now I'm actually getting closer to it, which is sort of unbelievable for me, because now it's actually sort of visible, and it's not impossible anymore for me. So Formula One is the goal. I hopefully after my time here in W Series, after I learned and gain experience, I can get into a junior Formula One academy or something, and make my way up to the ladder in F2 season, F3, or so yeah, that's the goal. It's always been an honor of mine. I've been representing Philippines for the entirety of my whole career. I've raced it everywhere around the world, and I've always just held it up with such great pride. And to be here now and able to race it all over the world, and alongside Formula One, to have that Philippine flag in my suit in the car, it's a dream. For me, it's a heart melting feeling, and I always just think of the possibility that if ever I do win, that Philippine anthem will be played on the podium. And that really makes me tear up sometimes. And that's the goal for the season, that I eventually want to get up there and be fighting. But I'll take my time to learn the first few races to fast track my growth and progress, and make sure that I make all of you guys proud.